is CTV News.
Good evening, I'm Sanjay. Maru. Thanks for joining us. We're learning tonight that a giant in Windsor's business industry has passed away. Family and friends are remembering Gus Revenberg, who died Monday at the age of 77. Revenberg is known for his involvement in many dealerships across Windsor, Essex. He founded Gus Revenberg Chevrolet Buick GMC in 1987 before expanding out to other brands. Revenberg was known to work regularly at his dealerships and spend his off time with his horses or fishing. A funeral and visitation are set for Friday.
He was all about honesty and integrity, and he always told everybody, God gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth. He's trying to tell you something. Listen twice as much as you talk. Listen to what the customer is saying and what his needs are. Let him tell you what they want. Don't try and sell them what you think they want.
The province is cracking down on an East Windsor bar after a deadly drunk driving crash last year was tied back to the establishment. CTV's Robert Lothian has the details.
This is a case that dates back to a collision just steps away from the Average Joe's Sports Bar this time last year. The Alcohol and Gaming Commission of Ontario says it didn't do enough to stop a customer from drinking too much. As a result, it could temporarily lose its liquor license. Windsor police responded to a crash between a vehicle and a motorcycle at Lozon Parkway and Lozon Line on the night of September 7th. The crash sent the 39-year-old motorcycle driver and a 35-year-old passenger to the hospital, where the driver was later pronounced dead. The other driver, who's said to have left Average Joe's, was charged with impaired operation of a conveyance, causing death and causing bodily harm. Through an investigation, the AGCO found the driver had at least 10 alcoholic drinks. Provincial laws say restaurants and bars must prevent customers from being intoxicated at their site, and staff must have the training to recognize these signs of intoxication. The provincial body now recommends the suspension of Average Joe's liquor license for 60 days. We have reached out to the bar for comment on the AGCO's decision and the potential suspension. Now, Average Joe's will have 15 days to appeal this decision and be heard by an independent body. Robert Lothian, CTV News.
Longtime cabinet minister and one-time deputy prime minister to former Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, Chrystia Freeland is quitting cabinet again. But this time she's leaving Mark Carney's inner circle. Freeland is now set to also serve as Canada's new special representative to help with the reconstruction of Ukraine. CTV's Michael LeCouture has more.
Chrystia Freeland isn't stepping down as an MP yet, saying in a statement she won't run in the next election. A source familiar with the appointment says Freeland will work directly with the Prime Minister on the rebuilding of Ukraine.
Chrystia Freeland left her final cabinet meeting accompanied by Prime Minister Mark Carney, signaling an amicable departure. Details of her new job only came in a statement from Carney saying, "I have asked Chrystia to serve as Canada's new special representative for the reconstruction of Ukraine." A source speaking on background says Freeland will work with Ukrainian leaders to rebuild its economy, an effort she championed under the Trudeau government as well.
The work that Chrystia will lead on Ukraine will be deeply impactful, not just for the war, but for Canada's national security.
Freeland has been a member of Parliament for 12 years, serving under Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, handling key portfolios like international trade and foreign affairs. She also led the negotiation for the Canada-US-Mexico trade agreement.
She's had literally every tough assignment there is in government, and she's done it, with extraordinary flair, and she's done a great job.
In 2020, Freeland became Canada's first ever female finance minister. 4 years later, she resigned from Trudeau's cabinet with a blistering letter criticizing the Prime Minister and costly political gimmicks, a move that led to Trudeau's own resignation less than a month later. Freeland ran for the Liberal leadership, but came in a distant second to Mark Carney. In a statement, she thanked her constituents and praised the current Prime Minister, saying Mark Carney is a unifier in a time of crisis, and I have absolute confidence in his ability to lead us through it. Ontario's Premier also praised her time in politics.
She's always a friend. I talk to her almost daily, bi-daily, and she's a good person, and she'll do a great job over in Ukraine, and I support her all the way.
Late this afternoon, we learned who will fill the void in cabinet. The minister in charge of Canada-U.S. trade, Dominic LeBlanc, will now take over on internal trade. And the transport file will be handled by Government House Leader Steve McKinnon. Mike Lecouteur, CTV News, Ottawa.
Two teens are facing a long list of charges following a series of crimes in South Windsor. Just after 3 a.m. on July 12th, suspects were caught on camera breaking into a home on Longfellow Avenue, stealing several items, including keys to a truck and a credit card. The card later used at businesses in Windsor and along Highway 401. Police say the same suspects returned a week later and stole the truck. Both teens, ages 14 and 16, were arrested last week. The 16-year-old faces 13 charges under the Youth Criminal Justice Act. Neither can be named. To the courts now, where the Crown has laid out their case in a Windsor murder trial against a Michigan man. We must warn you now, to our viewers and listeners, the case deals with intimate partner violence, and some of the evidence will be upsetting to hear. 47-year-old Brian Marbury from Michigan has pleaded not guilty to first-degree murder in the death of his wife of 20 years. The Crown believes 36-year-old Sahara Boulay was killed in the early morning hours of May 27, 2023. They say she and Marbury's relationship was, quote, riddled with jealousy and abuse, end quote, from the very beginning. In 2023, she was estranged from Marbury and living at Hiatus House. The jury learned late today that Boulay had begun seeing a new man, and Marbury repeatedly texted him about his intentions with her. On May 26th, Marbury traveled to Windsor, checked into a hotel on Huron Church Road, and met Boulay there. Guests reported hearing a disturbance from the room. Prosecutors allege Marbury then went to two stores to buy garbage bags, bleach, and a shovel. The Crown says surveillance video shows him using a large garbage bin to dump her body in a field behind the hotel. The jury, split between 7 men and 7 women, also heard Boulay was reported missing by Hiatus House on May 30th of 2023. Her body was not found until June 6th. The trial resumes Wednesday with testimony from Boulay's mother. An inquest continues into the overdose death of an inmate at the Southwest Detention Center. Nathaniel Krug was 21 when he died on March 10, 2021. An autopsy found a lethal amount of fentanyl and a sleeping pill in his system, along with 2 baggies of drugs hidden in his body. The jury heard Krug had no contraband when he arrived at the jail just 9 days earlier. On the morning of his death, security cameras captured him visiting 7 cell doors and speaking with other inmates. He was also seen carrying a book before being locked back into his cell. 5 hours later, he and his cellmate were found unresponsive. Despite efforts to revive him, Krug was pronounced dead in hospital at 3 o'clock that afternoon. The inquest is expected to run all week. The state of Utah is seeking the death penalty for Tyler Robinson, the man accused of killing conservative commentator Charlie Kirk at Utah Valley University last week.
I am filing a notice of intent to seek the death penalty. I do not take this decision lightly, and it is a decision I have made independently as county attorney, based solely on the available evidence and circumstances and nature of the crime.
Robinson faces a total of 7 charges, including one for aggravated murder. Robinson also faces charges for discharging a firearm, causing serious bodily injury under circumstances that created a risk of death to others, as well as a charge for committing the murder in the presence of children. The state is charging the 22-year-old with obstruction of justice for running and trying to hide the murder weapon and his clothes, 2 counts of witness tampering for encouraging his roommates to delete incriminating evidence from his laptop, and telling to stay silent when questioned by police. Because Robinson is facing the death penalty, he will be held in the Utah County Jail without bail. Well, poverty and food insecurity are on the rise in Canada, and a new report card gives the federal government a failing grade for its efforts. Here in Windsor, a local convenience store is leading the country in fundraising for food banks and hopes to do it again this week. CTV's Chris Campbell has the story.
Food Banks Canada's National Poverty Report Card gives Ottawa a failing grade on food insecurity. The data shows poverty continues to climb, with more than 2 million Canadians turning to food banks every month.
You can see that there definitely is an increase. There's a need. This report says it all. And for us to know that the federal government earned a D should be no surprise, but it should be very upsetting.
The report presses the need to cut food insecurity in half by 2030, modernizing supports like employment insurance and enshrining automatic tax filing into law to unlock billions in unclaimed benefits for low-income Canadians.
Here at the UHC, just us alone, we are serving 300 hampers per day. That's 1,500 hampers per week. Last year alone, we served over 235,000. 30% of those were children.
At the same time, Windsor is also showing the power of community. Last year, the 7-Eleven on Tecumseh Road East at McDougall raised more money and sold more Slurpees than any other store in Canada during the Name Your Price Day, a day when all Slurpee sales go to Food Banks Canada.
It shows how philanthropic the Windsorites are, and we hope that we could see that same kind of support again and know that the money that's being raised goes to a really, really good cause, right?
We buy every day. Every day you buy? Yeah, daily.
Customers say grabbing a Slurpee while helping fight hunger is an easy way to make a difference.
It's a good thing, I guess. It helps a lot of people out.
I think it's great. I might have to get a Slurpee on Thursday instead of a big gulp.
And while the national report shows plenty of work still needs to be done, local food banks say even a small donation this week will help put meals on Windsor tables.
Let's make a difference. I can't imagine sitting down at dinner time and having no food to eat. So we need to think about that. We need to wrap our heads around what is really happening in Canada. And I think this report really does share it all.
Chris Campbell, CTV News.
A new cross-border shuttle is in the works. The Link Tunnel Bus is expected to launch next week in the region, crossing the border between Windsor and Detroit. The route's founder says the tunnel bus service will be the same as what Transit Windsor offered, one bus running on a regular schedule 7 days a week. The officials go on to say there will also be 2 additional buses for special events. While there is no exact date yet for when the service will launch, officials hope for that to happen sometime next week. They say they're working out some kinks with insurance companies. Transit Windsor ended their regular tunnel bus service to Detroit on August 31st. Transit's special events bus is operating until December 20th. Nearly 200 support staff remain on strike at Clair College, with union leaders urging the employer to return to the table. Picket lines are now up at both Highway 3 and Cabana Road. At first, workers were restricted from the Highway 3 entrance. Union executives say they had to work with Windsor Police, the Ministry of Transportation, and OPP to sort out the rules for picketing. Still ahead, the Windsor International Film Festival unveils its biggest lineup yet, including a hometown documentary already making waves. And CTV meteorologist Gary Archibald joins me now for a look at the forecast. Gary, quite the start of the week. Monday and Tuesday, sunny skies. Could we see more of the same through the rest of the week?
I think that may very well be the case. Ridge of high pressure as forecast still entrenched right across the heart of the Great Lakes. In fact, it's much larger than that. The implications extend into northern parts of the country and northeast from us, anywhere from Ontario into Quebec and the Maritimes, feeling the effects, and that's good news for us. Reached a high of 27.3. Our average is closer to 23, and the humidity made it feel like the low 30s, somewhere around 31, 32 today. That ridge keeping the clouds at bay, at least along the perimeter. And high pressure is essentially cooler air sinking to the surface. And if that's the case, you get higher pressure, right? Pressing down, if you will, at the surface, inhibiting the ability of air rising and producing clouds, which produce storms, precipitation, etc. The other notable element here, of course, not only the lack of rain, the sunshine, the warm temperatures coming up from the south, is that we are not likely to see a huge dip in temperatures in terms of the daily maximums for at least maybe the next 3.5 days. And the overnights are seasonal. 13 degrees is what we would expect as a low during a 24-hour period that constitutes the days that we're seeing now in the middle of September. So that's average, that 13, under a clear sky with a light breeze, probably between 5 and 10 kilometers per hour coming out of the northeast before dawn tomorrow morning. The temperatures look more like late June, early July, don't they? Going up to 23 at noon. The lunch hour looks warm, feeling like 28. 27s are high, maybe seeing 28, feeling like 32 or 33. The only caveat to the story is that we do have a high UV rating, as you would expect, with the clear sky and the clouds not absorbing a lot of that UV or reflecting it. What gets through to the service could, of course, have health implications. So use that sunblock. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, cloudiness is the story, and temperatures fluctuating. Mid-20s, low 20s, and then mid-20s. Monday, Tuesday could see some showers, maybe even a light thunder shower. We do need the rains. We are in, technically speaking, a drought situation. Look at your lawns, your gardens. They are certainly stressed by the lack of moisture. Let's look at your weather.
All right, Gary, thank you. A place meant for healing and remembrance has been vandalized and damaged, leaving organizers dismayed. Mad Windsor in Essex County says one of its granite memorial benches at the riverfront has been vandalized. The benches honor lives lost to impaired driving and serves as a reminder to never drive under the influence. The organization calling the act disrespectful, saying it hurts grieving families and the community as a whole. They're urging anyone with information about what happened to contact police. The local community leader for MAD says each bench costs $3,000 to $5,000, with the price split between sponsors.
For those individuals that were involved in this, grow up. Go find something else better to do. The fact that you're thinking of, vandalizing a memorial bench, it's pretty low.
Well, unless you need to, don't fill her up just yet. Expect some relief at the gas pumps later this week. CTV's Bob Belichico showing us why gas prices have jumped so drastically in recent days and what kind of relief is in store for motorists.
It's crazy, it's tough out here.
Gas prices have gone up in the last week.
It hurts, like compared to what it was at last week, it has gone from 130 to 140. It's not fair.
This isn't fair too. The price of gas in Vancouver a week ago, yikes. According to Dan McTagg, president of Canadians for Affordable Energy, the way gas stations were doing business has finally caught up to them.
For the past summer, in fact, I'd say going back to last May, they've been charging as little as -2, -3 cents a liter. In other words, they were selling gasoline below cost.
McTagg says what motorists are experiencing is a correction.
Their critical business is not selling beef jerky. It's not selling water, pop, or ice cream. It's actually selling gasoline. If you're losing money selling gasoline, it won't be very long before your creditor comes in and starts asking you to ensure that the price you're selling it at reflects what it costs to actually furnish.
A year ago, gas was in the 140s. Carbon tax was lifted, but different factors have edged that price back up, like an increase in the cost of gas in the U.S. and the exchange rate.
Then you have the second carbon tax, which was never removed, the clean fuel regulation, which people didn't know about.
A tip from McTagg, never fill up your tank before 6 p.m. He says people can save up to $350 a year just by following that simple piece of advice. Lucky for motorists, stations will be switching from their summer blend to winter blend, which is cheaper to produce and should result in a 10-cent decrease Thursday.
So if you're anywhere at a gas station, you can hold off for another 36 hours, might be worth the drive.
McTagg warns while winter gas goes down, winter diesel goes up. Bob Belichico, CTV News.
The country's main stock index finishing lower today, weighing down by broad-based losses. In Toronto, the TSX lost 116 points. In New York, the Dow falling 126, the Nasdaq dropping 15. The Canadian dollar gaining a third of a cent today. And on commodity markets, gold added $6 an ounce and oil is up $1.22 a barrel.
Would you text your ex for $10,000? 89X is back. Listen for the keywords and text your ex. It's never been more rewarding to get back with your ex. Only on Windsor's Alternative, 89X.
A new study suggests it's becoming more common in Canadian hospitals for emergency room doctors to make cancer diagnoses. CTV's Pauline Chan has more on the factors, including long waits for diagnostics and a lack of family physicians.
Emergency departments are unique. We often provide episodic care, so we only see a patient once and we don't have ways to follow up with patients, make sure that referrals that were sent actually happen.
A recent study by Dr. Kirat Gurwal shows an increasing number of cancer patients are actually being diagnosed during a visit to the emergency room, pointing to the lack of access to family physicians.
We interviewed 20 emergency physicians across Ontario.
The problems range from the environment.
Emergency departments are routinely overcrowded. Patients who have suspected cancer diagnoses are often seen in waiting rooms and hallways, and having these discussions can be difficult for both patients and providers.
To the follow-up, as biopsies are usually required for a cancer confirmation and any referral to an oncologist.
The challenge with the emergency providers is they don't have that continuity with the patient. So they can make the referral, but oftentimes we'll get referral rejections, which is one of the things that came up in the study.
Gurwal is calling for more standardization of access to screening and care. She points to programs that already screen for breast or lung cancer.
And if you have a patient with suspected lung cancer in the emergency department, you can be fairly confident that they will reliably be followed up in a timely fashion.
We know that screening guidelines are the age is getting younger and younger. And in some of the young adult patients that I care for, we're often reminding them that the goal is to get screening when you feel well.
And Dr. Alicia Kazam says some screening can even be done by self-referral. Pauline Chan, CTV News.
A signature event in Windsor's art scene is getting ready to roll out the red carpet. The Windsor International Film Festival, WIFF, unveiling its lineup today with more than 200 films from 50 countries, including a documentary already creating buzz close to home. Here's CTV's Stephanie Mazzotti.
It's a film about Windsor's online creeper hunter, Jason Nasser. So it's a whole film about the predatory activities around baiting and switching, if you will, of posing as a minor, confronting men as adults.
Executive Director of the Windsor International Film Festival, referring to a documentary titled Shamed, directed by Windsor-born Matt Gallagher.
So there's a whole complicated story around it of essentially under the guise of chasing away pedophiles, but it turned into also vigilantism. So it's a pretty complicated film, complicated story.
A real-life story CTV News Windsor has followed closely.
We're really proud to have that film here at the festival. It will certainly create a lot of discussion around that film. A lot of people have many different points of view on that. And yeah, we really believe, at the end of the film, it's the beginning of the conversation. And I think that'll be a very powerful, complicated screening. So
Chandler Levac's sophomore feature, Mile Ends kicks off this year's festival.
No one has ever done a turandot. That's about the world today as it is, so directly.
Maxime de Rivianco's Ai Weiwei's Turandot will be celebrated as the centerpiece film.
Maggie is brilliant.
Is she? Does she just think you're brilliant? Hank's continued obsession.
We're friends. Always will be.
And Luca Guadagnino's After the Hunt, starring Julia Roberts, will close out the 11 days. And for the first time, a prized piece of hardware is up for grabs.
This is a new trophy we have designed from a company out of New York. It is the same company that designed the Emmy, the Grammy, and the Golden Globe.
It's called the WIFF Prize in Canadian Film.
Lucky winner this year will not only receive a $25,000 cash prize for Best Canadian Film, they walk off with that gorgeous, now historic trophy.
If you haven't experienced WIFF yet, Vincent Georgie says it's as simple as buying one ticket.
You definitely get hooked by the atmosphere, the excitement. It's like a buffet. You're like, oh, well, there's so many other things I want to try. But the bottom line, the way it starts, you just pick a movie. You're like, I'll buy a ticket for that. Buy one ticket. And we promise you, once you check out WIFF, you never go back.
Stephanie Mazzotti, CTV News.
Discussion here at Windsor City Hall.
Windsor's top stories.
A major project is about to get underway.
Breaking news alerts.
Severe weather is a possibility.
And watch live.
Good evening, and thank you for joining us.
Download the CTV News app.
On your marks, race fans, and mark your calendars. Next year's Detroit Grand Prix is locked in for the last weekend of May. Organizers announcing Tuesday that races will run May 29th through May 31st next year. The main event set for Sunday, May 31st on the streets of downtown Detroit. This will be the 36th Grand Prix weekend in the city and the 4th consecutive year back on the original street circuit. And Gary is back with a look at your forecast over the next 7 days. Gary.
Sanjay, I'm calling for that sunshine to continue. I think Wednesday and Thursday will be warmer than seasonal. Our average high is now just shy of 23. It's below 23 degrees Celsius. So with norms obviously decreasing, we're still seeing temperatures soaring above those averages because of the southerly flow, this warm air that's being pumped into the Great Lakes Basin where we live. Sunny, high UV, both Wednesday and Thursday, and then we'll see some clouds, believe it or not. Lots of them. For Friday, Saturday, Sunday, could see showers on Friday and again on Monday, Tuesday. Wherever you are, enjoy the next couple of days. We only have less than a week left in terms of our summer season for 2025. Have yourselves a good night.
You as well, Gary. Thank you. Turning now to a rare and playful sight caught on camera near Whistler, BC. People spending the day at Alta Lake, lucky enough to see these two young bears playing in the water. A canoe and kayak company capturing the footage and posting with the caption, quote, "It doesn't get much more Canadian than this." And here's one you got to see to believe. Luxury automaker Aston Martin is going after a new market with its latest model. This is the Aston Martin Baby Stroller, a collaboration with car seat brand Egg. It comes in 3 colors, including the iconic racing green. The stroller has a starting price of, get this, about $4,000 and will be available in the UK later this year. No word yet on whether they will be for sale in Canada. The look of the stroller is inspired by the company's vehicles. It bears a striking resemblance to the seats in the car, complete with the company's logo and a seatbelt-like harness. The company says the leather on strollers is sourced from Aston Martin's own interiors. The only product that can make kids stop crying, but parents cry at that high price point. That is your news for tonight. I'm Sanjay Maru. Thanks for watching this edition of Windsor's News Leader. We will see you right back here tomorrow night.